How's it going, everybody? Today I'm bringing another Despia deck profile, but I wanted to do something a little different than my usual videos. So usually I'll make videos where I win like a tournament or something and I post my first place deck profile. But over the last 2 weeks since I posted my last profile, I've been switching my deck up every time, and whether it be main deck, side, extra, and because I've just been enjoying testing like new ratios and things like that. So I decided I just, instead of wanting to post a single deck for every time, every tournament or anything like that, I just want to post my most recent build, and then I'm going to include text that I've played over the last 2 weeks, and kind of talk about like how my theory on the deck has changed, and where I see this deck going. Because as of right now, I think today is what, Tuesday, May 10th. We very well could get a ban list tomorrow. I think it comes hopefully, at least, 5 days maybe before what's the next YCS in Hartford, I believe. So hopefully soon. So even if we get a ban list tomorrow when I, upload this video or something like that, I don't think it'll change the deck too much. I do think they need to address this deck in a small way, unless they want this deck winning another YCS, because if we don't get a ban list after the next YCS, this deck will most likely, almost guaranteed, win the next YCS and 3P, which would be crazy. So, all right, so let's just get into the profile, and I'll kind of explain what I've been working with for the last couple weeks. So this build in particular is what I took to not really a case tournament. It was like a Ghost from the Past, like medal tournament we had, and by medal I mean like an actual medal you wear, that they were giving out to top 4. Unfortunately, I didn't win. I probably faced the weirdest matchups in the entire room, which was really unfortunate. I built my deck and I teched it out towards, like weird matchups, the mirror and like meta decks, and 2 of my rounds I ended up playing decks that were very unorthodox, which was unfortunate. But unfortunately, you can't win them all. But I still want to show the build and kind of like my theory behind it. So I believe this was 45. I didn't count beforehand. I think it was a 45 card build. So I played 3 Aluber, 3 Tragedy. I like 3 Tragedy. I don't really like cutting it. I'll explain later when I talk about other cards I didn't play of why I would consider cutting this down. But I played 3 for the tournament. I just wanted I wanted like an insane grind game, because I truly believe this deck is arguably tier 0 almost. This deck really for a main deck strategy, before siding, this deck almost loses to nothing. It's actually insane, and you'll kind of see as like I go over ratios and stuff like that. Dramaturge, Adlib. There was a time where in my last profile I talked about never cutting this. I ended up cutting it after for about a week, and then I threw it back in. And the way the deck is played now, you for sure need 1. And then for this tournament, I teched in a comedy. This was one card. It didn't really come up in the tournament. I might cut it in the future, because I want to try the Allure build that's going around. A lot of people in the last, I'd say 48 hours have been playing like the Allure Darkness build, and I'll also mention that as well later in the video. And so I probably cut comedy for that, to kind of make room for other cards. But this was the build I played. I wanted to have a very versatile Despia engine, because I expected a lot of mirrors, a lot of Sword Soul, and I just wanted to like break boards, to be honest, and this was like the perfect lineup for me. Next, what I did was I played 2 Fallen of Albaz. So one thing I will tell you right now, I will definitely be doing in the future, is I'll be playing 3 of these. As where the deck is right now, like to the date right now, I think 3's correct. A couple weird scenarios I had with Fallen of Albaz were actually when I played someone who was round 1. I actually played, it was like a Numeron, like go second OTK build, and I realized this, and I don't know if anyone's played, any other Despia players have realized this, but when they end on Megaclops, we literally don't have an out unless you have Super Poly or Droplet in your deck. So luckily, I knew what my opponent was on round 1, and so even though he won die roll and made me go first, my hand was insane. It was this Super Poly, I think Branded Fusion, a Luber, and something else. So what I decided to do was literally pass on nothing. I knew I wouldn't get OTK'd. I knew he couldn't put up 8k damage unless I got, you know, super unlucky, you know, if he was playing like limiter removal or something. But it was a risk I was willing to take because I didn't want to have like a game one that would took forever under mine or something like that. So I passed with nothing and he put up 4k damage. Came back to my turn. He linked off 3 of them into Mega Clops. And luckily, because my friend and I had talked about that card beforehand, I already thought of other ways to out it. But luckily, I already had the Fallen of Albaz plus Super Poly. So I just made Mirror Jade and then finished comboing and then I OTK'd. Our game 2 actually took, I think, literally about 34 minutes. So the first game ended really quick. Game 2 took very long. And it was only because I couldn't see my Super Poly. It took me going down to the last 10 cards in my deck to see one Super Poly, and I kept all 3 of them in, which was super unfortunate. But the good thing was that I did end up winning that game and the match. So, but even for reasons other than that, I think 3 Albaz is the correct move because we want to be able to combo. You don't actually, like a lot of the time, I don't even search Branded Fusion off a Luber or stuff like that. And I want to actually hard make, you know, a Mirror Jade or something like that. And playing 3 of these helps you play through hand traps and stuff like that. So that's one thing I'll be changing. And then for the Branded Lost Engine, we play these 3. So I hadn't been playing the Ecclesia, and I decided to tech that in, and out of all like the tech cards I put in, this was one of the best. I was in love with this card all day. Every time I resolved this card, I was winning. This actually even saved me in a couple brick games where even my last round, like there were only 2 times I opened bad, and one of them cost me a match, which was super unfortunate. I built this deck to be like super consistent. I hadn't opened like a single brick hand like in I'd say 20 plus test hands, and then one of them was against one of my friends, so at least it was one of my friends who beat me and got to advance. But in my last round, I bricked. I opened like 2 Luber and like I don't remember what my other 2 cards were, but I had my Ecclesia, and I literally had to like set a polymerization, normal this and pass. Like actually, I don't even remember what the other cards were in my hand. But literally, like if my opponent ashed this effect, I lost. And just because he, it was against the Brave Prank Kid deck. Just because he didn't open Brave Engine, he just opened the Prank Kid cards. I was able to resolve this effect and win. Like it was insane. But even other than that, this card helped me break so many boards. Like so many guys. Like it was just insane. Like I played against a Virtual World Brave deck. And when I talk about getting full comboed by a deck, like I mean full comboed. I lose Dyro game 1. He ends on Baron. He summoned the old level 10 Synchro that Sword Soul plays, not the new one. A Beatrice where he got 2 Sens, Chuche, and I think something else. I go second and I break the board in OTK. Game 2, he goes first. He makes an even better board where now it's he makes that same level 10 synchro. He has Chuche again. He has 2 Beatrice Sens, the Baron, and then he also ends on Shishao and a Call by the Grave. No joke. I play through every single interruption and put up 7,500 damage and leave him at 500. Like, no joke. Like, that's why I think it was in one of Pack's videos recently where he talked about that this deck plays like Sky Striker Orchest. I don't know if you guys played when that was like the best deck, but I think that's the perfect analogy for where this deck is right now. You don't play hand traps. Spoiler alert, I actually play 2 in my deck, but you don't need to play hand traps whatsoever because this deck just breaks every board. Like, it was just insane, guys. Like, I could not tell you, like, I opened crazy. Like, I opened crazy. Like, in that hand, it didn't have Super Poly, nothing. It was just all Despia branded cards. I did open Call by the Grave, but that was the only, like, non-engine card going second. And with my 6-card hand, I was able to break that entire board. Like, this deck's insane. This deck is made to make a board game 1, break a board game 2, game 1, whatever. And just not need hand traps. You just don't need hand traps right now, which is why this deck is so fun. It's a little toxic because of how good it is, but what separates this deck, I think, from other like toxic meta decks we've had that play like 15 hand traps, is that this deck truly relies on just the skill of the player. Like, I'm not relying on, oh man, I hope I open like 3 hand traps going against, you know, this deck, right? It's really just sequencing your actual cards in your deck in the right order and then going from there. So I love these cards. Yeah, it was amazing. Albion was insane. I got some nice Albion draws yesterday, which was really dope. Next we have, of course, this is a non-negotiable. I think everyone who's been playing the deck now knows that this is a mandatory engine. No one plays the Brave engine anymore, and there's a reason why that Brave engine has never won a YCS, so just keep that in mind. The 2 hand traps I teched in were 2 crows. I only did this for this specific tournament that we had. I just wanted like 2 tech cards that I could throw in that their attributes didn't like conflict with the deck. And from what I was expecting to see, I wanted just another form of disruption that I could see as a 6th card. I expected to play a lot of mirrors, and I just wanted something that I could top deck as a 6th card, because I just didn't want my opponent resolving branded in red. Because I'm not playing hand traps, if I play the mirror and I lose die roll, my opponent's going to full combo me. And so the way I thought about it was, I just want to prevent the branded in red pluses as much as I can. So once I activate that, and because I want to play branded lost as well, because every serious branded deck is playing that. So Crow was nice. I only saw it once, but it did its job. For the future, I'll probably be playing 0 hand traps. But yeah, that was just a tech. And of course, Snow's insane. This in one of the other tournaments I played, I had insane lines of play where I was able to like break an Eldritch board of like 5 set and play all while playing through a skill drain because of this card. And it's also because of another tech card which I teched in, which was Shaddoll Dragon, that I was also able to do that. During the last tournament I went to where I took this deck, this came up twice and it was clutch. But what this does is, see, the reason I was originally thinking of considering cutting this is because if I'm going against a back row deck, here's kind of like the line of thinking. So if I branded Fusion, if I send Albaz in one of these because I want to get rid of a skill drain, for example, if I send Comedy and I make Lubellion, I activate Lubellion, Chainlink 1, and then I can Chainlink 2 Comedy Tribute to Special, and so I dodge the skill drain and I'm able to summon out the Mirror Jade. But the issue is that the Mirror Jade is still under skill drain. Yes, I can send his cost, but it doesn't fix the problem of still being under it. And so what I did was I played a Shaddoll Dragon instead, because that actually gets rid of the problem. The reason I did keep the Comedy in is because there were other scenarios where I actually wanted to remove the fusion I made. And in testing it did come up, and so like I said, this was for a specific tournament where I knew for the most part what everyone was going to be playing, and I wanted to play both. And so I was actually very happy with how Shaddoll Dragon performed. So it's definitely something I consider maybe siding in the future, just because of how good it is. So next what we have is we have like the branded spells. Of course, 3 branded fusion, 3 branded in red. I decided to play 3 for this as well, especially because of my higher name count. It was great. I loved it. I would consider cutting it down 2 in the Allure build that I want to play next. But other than that, I like playing 3. 3 branded opening. I mean, this card's nuts. This card is just crazy. Like, when you play a Despia player and you hear thinking in draw phase, that's usually a bad news for you. And then for the last 2 is, of course, branded lost, mandatory, and then the field spell. So everyone's back on the field spell now, and for good reasons. When I watched on the rest Tortoise's list, he made me reconsider why the field spell is important and stuff like that. Because originally, before we got the structure deck, I loved the field spell. It prevented you from getting OTK'd in so many ways, and people just, especially if they're not familiar with the deck, they just they have a very hard time OTKing you if you're in a position like that. This has won me so many games in situations where I was losing, because people don't know like the order to like remove the fusions or the non fusion fairies, and they do it in the wrong order, and because of that I'm able to like resolve an Aluber effect engrave to get a negate. I'm able to summon back a fusion and stuff like that. And sometimes all I need is, like, if I'm in a losing position, is to keep putting up bodies, just so I can live to see the next turn. And then of course Branded Lost. Right now this card's mandatory. It's insane. It's just insane. I think everyone's kind of figured out the right ratios to play it now. It's insane. Like, people have to respect this card. That's it's because of like the prevalence of this card that people stopped playing Ghost Spell and went to Crow, and that's totally the correct move. Right now, because of this, unless you play a deck that can play 12, 15 hand traps, like a Prank or, you know, a Dragon Link variant, you should not really be playing Bell, just for the sole reason of this card's existence in the metagame. Next, what we have is 3 Super Poly. So, 2 weeks ago in my last build, I talked about how you don't need this card in the main anymore. And just like that, it wasn't even a couple days after where the meta just totally shifted. And people changed how they were playing the deck, and now you actually do need to main it, which is crazy. And because of this, you actually do change 1 or 2 slots in your extra deck because of this. The good thing about it now is this actually won me some games, not because I sacked a Super Poly, but like I said in my other example, when I played that Numeron deck, I was able to out the Link Monster and actually win. Otherwise, I would not have had an out. I would have to have seen my Droplet, which would have been my only out to that card. But yeah, so this was insane. I think I saw it twice during the tournament. I don't rely on this card very much. Right now, my mentality is kind of like, I hope this kind of gets hit, which is kind of like a shift in perspective I had. Originally, I didn't want it to get hit, but now I think it should, just because, or at least hit to 1, because this card's like really sacky. Like, you can play around Super Poly in very cool and unique ways in the mirror, but it's a really annoying card, and I kind of understand where people are coming from. Like, I kind of, you know, imagine like if I was playing you know, Phantom Knights, Dragon Link, other decks like that, they can get like hard stacked to this card, and I'm like, okay, you know what, to make things fair, I think this is a way they could indirectly hit this deck. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I end up posting another profile with ulti Super Polys. This might be the last time we see these. Then of course 3 Patchwork. Finally got my French copies in. I'm all pumped about that. And then of course 2 Poly. These are the ratios you play now, because you want to play 3 Chain and 3 of these, because you plus. They both give you pluses, and while while Polymerization doesn't. And now, because you do play the field spell, you have access to a searchable actual Polymerization in that regard. So next, what we have is, I did play 2 Droplet. This card was all right. I only saw it like once. I don't know if I'll main this again. Depends. I'm really curious what the next list will have in store for us, because I think if Super Poly gets hit, then you play more Droplet. And then I played 1 Call By, 1 Gold Sark, and then 1 Foolish. I saw Gold Sark once in my finals match. Foolish I saw once. These are just nice one-ofs. In the Allure build, you cut this for an Allure, which I'm going to try. So, yeah. Other than that, that was the main deck. So let's go over the extra real quick. So the extra is pretty much standard. So 2 Mirror Jade, of course, 2 Lubellion. To this day, I've never had to go into the second, but you still got to play it as if, you know, that might happen. So 2 Albion. I did cut this down for some other cards in here, which I'll show you. If there is a change, you know, I would play a third, but I'll show you why I didn't. 2 Masquerade. God, I wish I could play 3 of these. 1 Cortis. To this day, I'm telling you guys, this card's insane. I played against... Okay, so one of the ways I broke 2 boards for the last tournament, and like not even like broke a board, but like OTK'd, and both I did by summoning this card. So like just to go over like really quick of how you should go about like playing this card, because people who don't like summon this card frequently, I'm telling you guys, like, you're doing something wrong. When I played that Virtual World Brave Sword Soul deck, that I literally, like, because I don't play hand traps, that deck full comboed me with like 7 disruptions. Being able to summon this card off a branded fusion, and then having my opponent not negate the tragedy or anything I sent off grave or anything like that. Or no, I think I used Poly to summon this actually, and being able to activate the effect, put everything to 0, makes your opponent actually like really think, because it's either you let that resolve or you negate and I plus. And so my opponent decided to negate this, and because of that, I was able to get my Aluber and then combo from there. When I played my boy round 3, I lost die roll. He went first. He ended with I think it was Baron Shishao, 2 sets, one which I knew was blackout, and then I think like 3 in hand, and I was able to bait the Baron negate, and then I hard made this, and I was able to put everything at 0. And because of that, I was able to play around the water Tenyi he had engraved. He also had a token and the Link 1. And I was able to put everything at 0, so I was able to attack over everything, and then still have a Chimera line where I didn't have 2 or more cards on board for him to black out me. So this card was insane. Like, this card, I love this card. The reason you play this again is only because of Super Poly. I have yet to make this. I know in theory, if you're playing Super Poly, you should, especially if like your guys' locals has a lot of mirrors. In theory, you should be playing this card. I will honestly probably remove this card because I think that the chances of me, making this, I think are very slim. Maybe if I went to like a regional, I would. But yeah, this is something I'm thinking of taking out. And then of course, 2 Chimera, best card in the world. 1 Dragos the Paleo, this card's insane. The level 1 modulation came up when I played a Virtual World player, which was really cool. And then for the last ones, Titaniclad, this wasn't in my last list, I believe. Sometimes this comes up in the mirror because it's unaffected by monster special summon from the extra deck. So just for that turn, sometimes if you need to get over a Mirror Jade, because you can get this guy's attack, like, I think up like 1600 at sometimes. You can beat over almost anything, and any kind of like towers cards. This is also an out to those. So I like this card a lot. And then of course I played this again. So it's not so much that I thought I was gonna get like Retaliating Seed or some shit like that. The times I've summoned this, actually I just hard made that with like a Poly or something like that. And the 2 times, I think it was 2 tournaments ago, I made this against one of my other friends who was he was playing Prank Kid Brave, and I hard made this because I had to get rid of, I wasn't going to end like on a great board, and I had to get rid of the Brave continuous spell, and he had that and Prank Kid's monster in the same column, and so I was able to summon this, move it to get rid of both, which ended up winning me the game. And then playing against an Eldritch deck, this was the card that let me completely break the board. Otherwise, I would have had he would have had 1 more set that would have been threatening to basically like my strategy. So I was able to make this and get rid of the last back row and completely break the board in its entirety. So I like it. I like it because it lets you like fully break boards, but also because for the people who like want to be cheeky and like side those cards, it just punishes players for playing bad cards like that. So for my side for this, I went with 3 twin. Some of the Despia players at my locals and that I was expecting to show up, we're going to be playing branded Eldritch and stuff like that. And I just wanted a chainable card. I knew some people were going to tech in like the non-fusionary and shit like that. And instead of playing Lightning Storms, which I picked up some more Lightning Storms, I just wanted to play like a chainable card. 1 Banshee, 1 Zombie World. I've just played 1 and 1 because that's all I had the room for. No Flunder. Didn't see a single Flunder player, but I did play against Sword Soul, and there is like 1 Tri-Brigade player, so those do come up in situations like that. Next, I'll show you some tech that I played for this tournament specific. So first off, Red Reboot. Obvious. I hadn't been playing that, but now I think it's mandatory just because of the weird trap cards people side against this deck, and it's an easy always side in and out because it is at 1. Sometimes I'll keep it in going first and second. Like it's just insane. But for some tech I played that I've been wanting to try out, I've been testing this card off and on since Charlotte, and which was pre-structure deck. And finally, I brought it to a tournament because I wanted to, when it comes to big tournaments like this, I want to bring like tech that no one kind of expects. And I resolved this twice, but the most significant time was that match I was talking about when I played the Numeron Player Round 1. I sided this in for Game 2, and this helped me not how do I say it? Not stall, but it gave me more turns because I was able to rip the spells from his hand because I didn't want to get mined. Otherwise, I had to scoop. So it let me live longer. Yeah, that's basically how I want to put it. So it let me live a little longer, and until I could see like my own super poly, and it was insane. I sided it against, I think, one of my other friends, but it never got to come up because it just went to time, and the match ended before I could actually activate this. But for the match it did come up, this definitely didn't win me the match in its entirety, but it gave me the opportunity to win the match. So it's a really cool tech that I don't mind sharing now. I've only seen one other profile play these cards. Eradicator is definitely the best. The other ones will get better depending on how prevalent the like the Sun Avalon decks and stuff like that get, because then you can play the other ones that target the monsters and shit like that. But that was a cute little tech, and it came up clutch for me. I played 3D Barrier. I don't play this for the mirror. Just to give you guys like a shortened down version of how I go into the mirror. I actually don't side for the mirror. The way my main deck is built, at least right now, there's no reason for me to side. There's nothing I want to put in here or take out. If I, for some reason, wanted to, maybe these. But the thing is I would test the mirror, and I would put these in going first, right? And there were a lot of times where sometimes it actually wasn't the best. So I ended up, never signing that in. But the reason these are in here is because Sword Soul's actually, low-key, guys, Sword Soul's actually insane right now. If there's any deck that comes close to this deck, it's Sword Soul. And I just wanted another going first card because I wasn't playing Tisibu. And I wanted something that could hit those decks. And because I had a feeling some people would be like on a weird like Numeron deck or something like that. And that's another reason I wanted to tech this in. I think I summoned it once. Or no, I think I activated this once. But it was never against Sword Soul, unfortunately. But this card was nice for, what it's there for. And then lastly, the last 3 tech cards I put in were 3 Lava Golem. This was also another going second card against like a Sword Soul deck. Because I decided to tech in the 2 DD Crows, I wanted something I could easy side outs for the Sword Soul matchup. I didn't play hand traps because I didn't think you needed them, and my first loss in the tournament was actually against an FTK deck. And because I didn't win the die roll, I lost, and which was really unfortunate because I didn't even know there was like a viable FTK deck in the format right now. It was just super unfortunate. That was my only loss. Like my only way to win that would have been to draw one of my 2 DD Crows in my 45 card deck. So that was super unfortunate, but the Lava Golems I played, I was expecting to play some other like heavy combo decks, and instead of putting in like low impact hand traps or just putting in 3 hand traps which would do nothing, I wanted a high impact 6 card I could draw that could get rid of whatever I wanted it to get rid of. So that was my theory behind that. One thing I will mention, like I said, is I want to kind of talk about really quick some other cards that I was thinking of playing. So obviously, I cut the 3rd Albion. That's something I would consider putting back in, maybe for the Proskinion. It's definitely, I never missed it, but I could, there have been times previously where I have actually used all 3, so that's something I could be thinking of doing. One thing I'll mention briefly is playing the Allure build. That version actually seems really fun. It's an all-gas version, like most of these builds are now. Where you don't play hand traps, and to substitute that, you do play 3 of these instead of just the 1. So that's something I do want to test. That's probably what I'll take, honestly, for my next box tournament. And who knows, maybe if it's like a really saucy deck or something like that, or if I win, maybe I'll post that. But this is something I recommend you guys try out too, because it is, I think playing decks like this that are just like all gas, no breaks, really help you kind of get better as a player. So Another card I didn't play, which I would play if I did the Allure build, is the Glory Dragon. This I would also consider putting in for either the Iron Dash or the Proskinion. Only because you would also be playing these. You would also be playing the kit, and then of course the third Albaz. I had taken out the kit for this tournament that I took this deck to, because I hadn't tested with it enough to where I felt comfortable to always know the lines of like when this is like really good to go into. But I will be playing this in the future, so I'll probably have to find the space for this card, just because it is a nice card to send. But yeah, guys, so that's pretty much the profile. I do want to mention this. I think right now this is like a 30-minute video, but I'll either make another video today or add this to the end of today's video. But if you guys are interested, I mentioned this in the end of my last video, where I was saving all the product I've won over the last, I think, 3.5 weeks, and I decided to open it on a stream to my friends on Facebook Live. And I actually opened insane, guys. Like, if you want to see real quick, if you're just like how insane it was, I literally called 2 of my pulls before I opened the pack. No joke, I called it. Like, on video, no cap, I called it. And it was the most insane ending to the opening that like you could imagine. And so if you see that this video continues for like another 5 or so minutes, then I included it. If not, then I'll upload it for another video. But if you're seeing this video, either way, you'll be able to watch that. So if you want to tune into like an insane ending to this box opening, it was essentially about 3.5 boxes worth of packs of what's the last set called, with like Chimera and all that, and it was insane. And 7 OTS packs. And the OTS packs were last, so I will give a little spoiler of what you might expect. But that's it for today's video. I want to post some Despia like test hands or some duels, but I want to wait till the ban list. So just to give you guys something you can like carry on with you for multiple weeks of how to play the deck. So once that comes out, then I'll either post a duel or test hands like I did with the Flunder video. And shout out to you guys for watching that. That's like blowing up recently all of a sudden, which is really cool. So I'd like to, make another, 40, 50-minute video for Despia like I did for Flunder. So tune in for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.